Hello paper crafters, it's Olga and it's the day 5 of my 25 days of Christmas holiday tutorial series. Today I'm going to demonstrate how I created a couple of cards that are really easy to make, although they definitely do not look easy. Those cards have lots of both texture and color, they are suitable for children and for adults, and they're really easy to customize and very versatile. So, without further ado, let's get started. To begin with, I have created two card bases out of light gray cardstock that are 5 by 7 inches. I have also pre-cut a couple of pieces of pattern paper to cover up the front of the card. Those are a bit too smaller than the card front, so that I have a little border all around. If you prefer smaller card formats, just go for it. You can still use the same supplies that I used. For the card front, I'll be using a couple of products from the new Paper Discovery collection. They are the Scandi Designs Embossing folder and Scandi Strip Patterns stamp set. As you see, these two are coordinating perfectly. The embossing folder has embossed areas as well as plain strips that you can stamp into. I will also be using black archival ink for stamping this time. Let's start with embossing the patterned paper panels. I'm simply placing my piece of paper inside the folder, closing it up and running it through the die cutting machine, whatever the right sandwich for your machine is. And this is what the embossed panel looks like. You can see nice and clear embossing. And now I'm going to do the same with the second panel. You can of course make as many cards as you like this way. And as always, the tools and supplies that I'm using are listed down below in the description box as well as on my blog. Now when I have my panels embossed, I'm going to add a bit more interest to them. I'm going to use a couple of strip pattern stamps from the set, and I'm going to stamp them out onto the flat areas of the embossed panel. I'm going with the black ink this time since the panel already has some color to it, but generally, especially if you are using the white panel, this stamping can add a lot more color to your project. Also, you don't even have to use the stamps. You can use washi tapes instead, or you can use strips of pattern paper, or you can write or doodle into those flat areas of the panel. Now, if you want a really quick card, you can simply stamp one of the sentiments onto that flat strip in the center, but since I'm going to add a bit more detail to this project, I'm going to stamp the pattern and then I will add a sentiment later on. So now I'm just adding a third stamped strip, which is that snowflake pattern. Next, I'm planning to enhance the vintage look of this card by sanding the surface of the panel. And the best way for me to do it is to place the panel back into the folder until it kind of clicks into place, and then I'm going very lightly with the sanding tool over the embossed areas. By placing the panel back into the folder, you're just making sure that you are not going to flatten out the pattern. Here you can see I ripped the paper as I was sanding it, but that is no problem at all. Since I'm going to glue this panel onto the card front, no one's gonna see anything. Next, I'm going to attach the panel onto the card base using the double-sided tape. Liquid adhesive will work just as fine if that's what you prefer. I'm applying the tape onto the card base instead of the panel, just making sure I'm leaving that thin border all around the perimeter. This way I'm not going to rip the panel even more, and I'm not going to flatten it out as well. As I mentioned, I'm going to add the sentiment over that strip of snowflakes, and the one that I'm going to use is from the Christmas Sentiment stamp set, also from the new paper discovery collection that is called Rustic Christmas. I'm stamping the sentiment onto a piece of grey patterned paper using the same black ink, and then I'm going to use the matching die to cut it out. Next, I'm going to add a strip of double-sided foam tape at the wrong side of the sentiment label, and then I'm going to stick it down onto my card. At this point, you can call the card done, but I think I will add a few embellishments to it as well. I will be adding some silver jewels of different sizes. Those are by Cat Scrappiness and they are really vintage looking. I think the geometric patterns on a folder are perfect for adding all kinds of embellishments. If you don't want to stick down the jewels or pearls, you can always go with the Nuvo drops or similar liquid product. And this is what the finished card looks like. It really has lots of texture, but it's great for mailing in an envelope. And by the way, that sentiment stamp set also has a couple of greetings that are in house-shaped frames, so I think I'll use those to decorate the inside of the card. I'm simply going to stamp that one in the corner using the same black ink. Now let me show you really quickly how I finished the second card. I added the stamp in the same way, just chose different strip patterns. Now I am sanding the surface just like I did the first time, and by the way, after sanding, if you want more color, you can ink up those sanded areas and they will take up the ink perfectly. Now I am attaching the panel onto the card base just like I did the first time, but this time I'm going to go with the different kinds of add-ons and embellishments for a different look. I will be using a couple of colored images, and those are from Christmas Characters stamp set, also from the same collection. Here I have all the images stamped, colored and fussy cut. There are also matching dies included if you want to do all the fussy cutting. For this card, I think I'll choose this Santa, a teddy bear, plus a couple of gift boxes. I'm going to attach that teddy bear and a smaller gift box using the liquid glue, just sticking them flat onto the card front. I'm also using an acrylic block to hold down the images while the glue dries. As for the larger focal image, I'm going to attach it with the foam tape so that to create even more texture. I'm also going to attach a larger gift box so that Santa holds it in his hand. Now all there is left to do is to add the sentiment, and the one that I'm using is from the Holiday Essentials die set. And by the way, the matching die for the label that I used on a previous card is also from this die set. I have layered 3 sentiment die cuts one on top of another to create more dimension, and now I'm sticking them down onto my card, and then I can call it done. So this is what my finished cards look like. I would call them an adult card and a children's card, although I'm a huge believer that whatever is good for children is good for adults as well. And by the way, here is another bonus project that I would like to show you. This card is created using the same Christmas characters. I simply attached them onto the embossed background, exactly the same technique as I did on that Santa card. And then I just added a few sequins and called the card done. And this is how easy it is to make cards with embossed and stamped backgrounds. You just add different embellishments and add-ons to create a new look each and every time. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for following my Christmas tutorial series. I'll be back really soon with the next project, and I hope to see you all again. Goodbye!